When we ended our show last week, it's like, yeah, we're not doing one for the bye week. I want my Sunday night. But here we are. Here we are, Mike. Let's have some fun. It's the Mike Goolsby Show. Mike texts me. He's like, dude, you want to do a show tomorrow? I was like, let's do it. So here we are. I'm Mike Singer. I run our recruiting operation and YouTube here at Blue and Gold. And with me is the very talented, very handsome Mike Goolsby, rocking. I mean, just the setup is just as gorgeous as always, Mike. You doing good, brother?
I'm great. Yeah. Sorry to put you out making you do a show Sunday night, but the Dolphins already got their win.
Yeah, bro.
And who needs to watch the Cowboys anyways?
All right. I was like, as I was walking to my office thinking about that game, we don't really talk about your time with the Cowboys. It wasn't like you were there forever, but still, we don't know. I feel like we don't ever talk about it.
Well, it's a Notre Dame show. I mean, it makes sense.
But it is the Mike Goolsby show, so I feel like the Mike Goolsby part trumps the Notre Dame part. But just real quick, your time in Dallas for the people. I don't know. I'm just kind of give you the floor on that.
Oh boy, here we go. Wow, let's catch me off guard. It was short. I mean, I had half of a cup of coffee, and then, technically I played for the Cowboys, but I didn't make the team. I think I was like, you'd have to go back. The whole story about the Cowboys, it all goes back to like draft day. And then before that, it goes to like the combine process and all of that. And everybody's got a sob story, and I'm no different. But your boy was supposed to go play in the Senior Bowl, had to get my appendix removed like 2 days before I'm supposed to leave to go down to Mobile. Brutal. And then, so I missed that. And that's why I really would have shined, because I wasn't going to go run a 4.5 or anything like that, just playing football. And then you go to the combine, which is, a month later, give or take. And then this is all about how you didn't get drafted. You wound up with the Cowboys. But you go to the combine, and I'm a month out from surgery. I haven't trained, right, because there's still a hole in your stomach. And in my mind, I'm like, Singer, I'm going to show these teams how tough I am, and I'm going to run, and I'm going to jump, and I'm going to do all the workouts and all with literally no training. Ran like ass, jumped like a 29-inch vertical. Everything got better at my pro day like a month later, but you didn't get drafted. But anyways, go to Dallas. It was like my college girlfriend at the time. We were together for a long time. She was a volleyball player. She took a job in Seattle, and it comes down to, am I going to go to Dallas or am I going to go to Buffalo as a free agent? And it's like, I could not get further away from Seattle than Buffalo. And Jerry Jones called me, 6th, 7th round. Parcells calls me 6th, 7th round. I'm like, I'll go to Dallas. But they played in a 3-4 defense. They drafted a ton of defensive players. It was a hard team to make. But when I think about the Cowboys, you always think about Parcells, like what a character, not the person that the media portrays him to be. Go figure. Awesome dude, but he was just really short with the media. So the media kind of painted him as this asshole that he really wasn't. And then I think about Larry Allen, rest in peace. Really, Larry Allen is a GOAT. And it's like, there's two guys that I ever was on the field with that I was afraid of. Larry Allen's one, and Jeff Payne was another one, who's a teammate of mine at Notre Dame, first-round draft pick of the Cleveland Browns. But that's what I think about when I think back to those times.
Yeah, Singer is tough too, according to Mark with Glasses. I wrote an article at the Paper Cut once. It was brutal. It was brutal on me.
Yeah, well, you're either hurt or you're injured. You can play hurt.
Yeah.
You can play hurt, and that's the story I tell training young athletes, Singer too. And then I went over to that season, ended up playing a couple games for the Rams. New coaching staff, got to win your job. And I'm just telling you, pride comes before the fall. It's like, were you good enough to play in the NFL? Was I good enough to run down a kickoff team for a couple, 2-3 years? Absolutely. But when you're a captain and you're the leading tackler and all this at Notre Dame, and you have this young male ego, like when I didn't get drafted, part of my kind of spirit sort of checked out, if that makes any sense. Like yeah. That's Madison Hedgecock. I think he won a Super Bowl with the Giants fullback.
There's Goolsby 53. Just doesn't sit right.
Beats. I think I got 45 in Dallas. That's when you know. Look down the roster at the numbers, and you kind of know where you're at in terms of the pecking order. You know? So
look at this guy.
Yeah, look at that neck, dude. Big old
2006. For folks listening on podcast, yeah.
But that was the days of 200 and I think pro day I was 249 pounds, inside linebacker. Ran 4.82 electronic, not bad for 250 pounds.
No, not at all.
That's the story.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes of today's show, Mike. What a wild weekend. Like I think if this like it was supposed to be like kind of a sleepy weekend, right? And then like if this didn't happen, we probably are not recording the show. Down goes Bama, Tennessee. So you got Bama losing to frickin' Vanderbilt, which I really want to dive into a little bit with you, Mike, because this show we're going to talk about kind of the college football landscape and then of course how it impacts Notre Dame. Tennessee losing to Arkansas, which I want to hear from you on because I know you tweeted about Arkansas. Missouri getting torched by Texas A&M in College Station, which is great news for Notre Dame. And look, I know Louisville also lost to SMU, but that doesn't matter. What matters is the quality win. And like, as long as you still have that one really good quality win, I'm fine if Louisville loses to SMU. It's fine. It really doesn't matter. Texas A&M winning is a far bigger deal than Louisville losing to SMU. It's fine. Louisville was never going to go on to be anything crazy. Michigan falling to Washington, so Washington gets their revenge from that national title game loss. And then USC losing to Minnesota. What a wild night, Mike. Just a wild day. What'd you think about this this Saturday in college football?
Well, I picked two of those games. I picked Arkansas to win, and I picked SMU to win as well. But that's not in your little graphic there. But yeah, and dude, Miami almost lost. I mean, it came down to the wire. I put my whole sports betting account on Miami, and I was like, oh no, Cal was the bet. I went to bed. I woke up. I'm like, holy hell, Miami pulled it out. Now, maybe they were gifted the game by the ACC officials, best I could tell, reading on the Twitterverse. But yeah, wild night of college football. You wake up and you're like, okay, we got to be in the top 10, right? Not so much. Not so fast, my friend. We're tied up with Iowa State.
Tied up with Iowa State.
It's tough. But I was preparing for this show. Iowa State's going to lose another game. Miami's going to lose another game. Tennessee's surely going to lose another game. Penn State inevitably will lose a game. My big takeaway, and I was texting you about this an hour ago, and this, too, Mike, this really isn't up my alley in terms of like prognostication. What do you think? Were we going to be the 8th seed or whatever, right? But after that loss to Northern Illinois, we dropped 13 points. So if you look at the rankings, the up and down throughout the course of the season, 6 weeks in, that was the biggest drop. Outside of that, what was the other? Some other team dropped 11 points, but they knocked us down 13 because we're 5 after we beat A&M, and you fall all the way to 18. Crazy.
Alabama loses to Vanderbilt, and they're still at 7.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I don't know. I thought they might drop a little bit, but yeah, like Tennessee lost. They're still in the top 10. Clemson got trounced by Georgia. They're still in the top 10. It is interesting. But if you're going to lose early. And that's why Notre Dame is kind of able to. So do you think where do you think Notre Dame should be ranked, Mike?
Oh, you just like to see him in the top 10. That's been my argument as long as I've been coming on this YouTube show. Is like, can we just get to a point in the program where you're a top 5, 6, 7, 8 team? We're thought of the same way that like Oregon is year in and year out.
Yeah.
We're not Bama, Georgia, Ohio State just yet, if ever, but it's like you can bank on us being top 6, top 7, top 8. That's where I've always just been like, okay, that's the next big step for this program, and then take it from there.
one interesting team in there is Penn State. Penn State, dude, beat Bowling Green by a touchdown, Illinois by 2 touchdowns, UCLA, which is terrible, like 16 points. They go, this is Penn State's schedule coming up. At USC, at Wisconsin, Ohio State, Washington, at Purdue, at Minnesota, Maryland. So they're kind of getting to the meat and potatoes of their schedule. I could see them between USC. I mean, Wisconsin's no slouch. Ohio State and Washington. I could see them losing like 2 of those 4 games.
They must have. You're so right. It's like, well, Penn State, of course, right? But it's like they never amount to jack squat, but somehow they're always like up there ranked. Yeah, I mean, if you look at their schedule, they beat mighty Bowling Green by a touchdown. Trounced Kent State, beat Illinois by 2 touchdowns, beat a terrible UCLA team. So, yeah, I mean, they're into their next 4 games, SC, Wisconsin, Ohio State, and then Washington. That's a tough little gamut for them to get through.
So do you think, Mike, that this parity, is this due to like NIL in college sports, or is this just some years this just happens, or like, or we're talking about it more because it happened all in one weekend? Like, do you think there's more parity in college football right now, Mike? Do you have an opinion on this?
I think there is more parity. I think the conference realignment's got something to do with this, like in terms of a lack of familiarity between programs. Like, obviously, it's not the case with Vanderbilt and Alabama, but I'll just tell you, high school football, Mike, has gotten better. I mean, you've probably seen it improve during your time in terms of just covering recruiting. Like, the on-field play has gotten better. And then we Notre Dame fans, we love to complain about our offense. It's like any given Saturday, turn on any random game, and teams are good. Like, kids, like there's more talent. Recruiting budgets are bigger. There's NIL money to be had. It's like, yeah, it's absolutely kind of leveling the playing field. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I had like 2 thoughts I thought were good that already escaped me.
We're talking about parity in college football. Is that the case? But that's like when I look at like the Big Ten, for example, like the travel back and forth. That Miami game last night, dude, they're playing at like 2 a.m. their time. It's 2 a.m. Eastern time or whatever is the case. Like it's wild. So all of these things for any of those sports bettors out there, it's like you have to take that into account.
These national conferences is just the stupidest thing. I really don't like it. I hope that it kind of works itself out. Because, yeah, Oregon being in the same conference as Rutgers and Cal being in the same conference as Miami is just stupid to me. It just is. But
yeah, you feel for those student athletes, right? They got to do all that traveling and go to class. But my other takeaway, too, when like looking at rankings and who's going to make it, who's not into this playoff, what do you think about style points, Mike? How much does that matter to the committee as they really start to dig in, right? I mean, we're 5 weeks into the season.
Can we define style points?
Margin of victory. Margin of victory, and then this is what I wanted to kind of put the screws to you based off of, I think last week, don't let me put words in your mouth, but you're like, we're not a championship team. You didn't say playoff team, right? You said we're not a championship team yet, program yet. Is that accurate?
It's the filter. I'm not looking at Notre Dame right now through the national championship filter because I don't think they can win one or even like get to the Final Four. That was kind of my thought.
And then like the inevitable follow-up question is why? And then so we're talking like if I'm trying to bring this full circle with style points, like the eyeball test matters. Like in terms of, this is a dominant win. Dominant on both sides of the ball, 3 phases. Versus like, well, they've got a great defense, but their offense is hard to watch, which might be the case with us. And also margin of victory. Where the casual fan, Mike, watches it and they're like, wow, that was an ass whooping.
Yeah. The style point discussion for me, I think it's not as important as it was in the BCS because I think it's much more about who you beat and just in general. And this is the whole thing about, I was thinking about this, Mike. This AP top 25 we're looking at, it means mostly jack shit. It doesn't mean anything, Mike. because this is the only thing it means is the college football playoff committee. They're influenced by this a little bit. They have to be, right? They're paying attention to the AP top 25. Side note, I don't know why the AP top 25 is the bigger poll than the coaches poll. Why do we care what, guys like me, like I'm not on the AP poll 25, but like top 25, but you would care about more what Mike Singer thinks than like Dabo Sweeney or like the coaches poll. Like, why is the AP poll a bigger deal than the coaches poll? I don't get it. The AP poll is a bigger deal. It's sports writers versus coaches. I would care more about what the coaches say, but that's kind of a sidebar discussion. But this whole discussion about the polls, they mean nothing until the actual thing comes out where the committee.
So, well, why does the AP poll matter, Mike? It's because it's the media's darling. They create it. They get to talk about it, right? I mean, that's a no-brainer. But when does the committee, how does this go, right? First year 12 team playoff, do they come out with the committee rankings at what point? Or is it just like overnight, boom, here's the top 12?
No, I think they're going to continue to do the committee rankings where they have their ESPN show and everything, like they've done in the years past with the top 4. It's just but people need to understand. Like I tweeted, what you guys see on the screen right now, the college football playoff bracketology. I tweeted this out, just saying like thoughts, just soliciting thoughts from Fighting Irish fans on this. And there was a guy who was just like, this guy's an idiot. He was like, why is BYU on there? Who is drunk and made this thing? I'm like, God, we really need to train people on this. It's the teams who get the 4. This is not saying that Clemson is the 3rd best team in the country and BYU is the 4th best team. It is the 4 highest ranked conference champs. And this is not bracketology for what Andy Staples thinks is going to be at the end of the year. It's bracketology right now, which I love this. This is fun to me. So he's got Ohio State, Texas, Clemson, and BYU as your top 4 seeds, your highest ranked conference champs. And then your 5, so your second Big Ten team, he's got Oregon playing the highest ranked group of 5 conference champ, Navy. Or is it highest ranked group of 5 conference champ or just highest ranked group of 5 team? I can't remember. You guys can let me know in the chat. Penn State, your 3rd Big Ten team. And then you go Miami 7. Okay. Facing number 10 Notre Dame. How much fun that would be. Bama, Georgia, 8-9. Pretty unlikely that would actually happen in real life. Penn State in the 6-11 against A&M. And then you guys can see the first. So highest ranked G5. It doesn't even need to be a conference champ. Is that what it is? I'm just reading what you guys are saying. And then you can see the first 4 out and the rest of the G5 contenders. But yeah, Mike, it's really interesting. So you would like Notre Dame to be a 10 or an 11 rather than the 12, because you're just playing slightly lesser teams. That 5 seed, Mike, typically is going to be, like probably your 3rd or 4th best team in the country, because like the second best SEC team or the second best Big Ten team is probably going to be better than the ACC or Big 12 champs. So, all right, that's a lot of yapping for me, Mike. What do you think?
Well, I'm always torn, man, because it's like this is a professional production and you want to give your 2 cents, but I'm always like, I don't care. Like, who are we playing next week? Because there's so many variables to your point where like it kind of doesn't mean jack squat at this juncture in the season. But like it just in my brain, I'm like, yeah, we'll end up being ranked. If we go undefeated, that is, we'll end up being ranked 8th. In my brain. Don't ask me how, but it's just something I would say.
Yeah, Eric said earlier, if Notre Dame runs the board, they have to get one of those coveted 5 to 8 spots, right? So then you're hosting. So to this point, I'm sure I'm going to get into this stuff with Tim on Tuesday night. The committee, I just think really, really values quality wins more than they care about losses to an extent, obviously, right? You can't be a 7-5 team and have 2 amazing wins and get into the playoffs. That's not what I'm saying. But I just think that like a 2-loss SEC team, 2-loss Big Ten team with some really quality wins, more so than Notre Dame will be over the Irish. So we will see. But it's not like, okay, undefeated's at the top, then 1-loss teams, then 2-loss teams. I don't think that's going to be how the committee operates, but we'll see.
I just think, so Mizzou was ranked number 9 prior to this, this past Saturday. They fell 12 spots. Texas A&M jumps up 10 spots. So you talk about quality wins. It's like, well, yeah, we're the only team out there with 2 top 25 wins. But if you look at like a Texas A&M jumping up 10 spots, that was a top 10 win, where our top 25 wins were like fringe top 25 teams, right? They weren't in the top 10. So it's like there's levels to everything. But I just look at it like, as a Notre Dame fan, ex-player, and it's just like, boy, it kind of feels like we were gifted something based off of this tumultuous weekend. And it's like, okay, what are we going to do with this going forward? There's reason to get excited because, like, you're telling me there's a chance, right? We're back in the game. But then you sit there and look at where we're at 5 games through the season. It's like there's still quite a few question marks and things to be legitimately concerned about. And then I just think about it too, like the style point thing, the fashion in which you're winning these games matters. It has to the committee. It has to. And you have that Notre Dame cachet, that Notre Dame brand, the money behind it, the viewership behind it. But yeah, it's going to be a blend of things, I think, that matter as the season moves along.
Yeah. The style point thing could help you 1 seed, but if you're Notre Dame and you run the table, you're in. It doesn't really matter how you win the games, I guess, is kind of my thought.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, Mike, you did bring up a good point that will kind of lead us into the next topic of the show, is how Notre Dame will take this opportunity that's been just gifted to them. I know you tweeted out Notre Dame's best bye week since, so we will talk about that in just a moment, but always like to talk about HomeField apparel. College football is in full swing, and I feel like I can say this part of this ad read comfortably now. Notre Dame is making a run to the college football playoff. Knock on wood. They're at least hoping to. They are in the discussion. They are either just in or in that first 4 out category when it comes to bracketology. So you're going to want to make sure you are geared up as best as possible, which is where we're going to meet today's sponsor, HomeField Apparel, a premium collegiate apparel brand based in Indianapolis. You guys know I love their clothing. You get that brand new clothing with a retro look, but no retro tears or smells. HomeField's always rolling out new clothing items as well. This Notre Dame Fighting Irish Campus Classic pullover, this is new since we did this show last Sunday. Looks incredible. Clothes fit great. Very comfortable. I highly recommend you head over to homefieldapparel.com to check out the entire Notre Dame line. And if you have friends who are fans of other schools, HomeField has licensed clothing for over 180 colleges. Use the code BGI. It's good for 15% off your first order with HomeField. Again, folks, that's code BGI for 15% off your first order at HomeField. Check out HomeField and gear up for an exciting season ahead. Mike, I hope this is okay to say, but HomeField gave us both a little shopping spree. I don't know if you put your order in yet and got it, but dude, I mean, come on. This Fighting Irish shirt, bro. I was like, in the Kelly green, I was like, I got to get this right away. So my wife got some gear. I'm super pumped. I feel like every week I'm gonna show for the next couple weeks, show some new stuff I got. I grew up a Georgia Tech fan, and they had this really cool old school Georgia Tech basketball shirt, and I was like, I gotta snag that too. Maybe I'll show that next week. But yeah, I'm telling you, man, it's all quality stuff. I've been wearing their stuff for the past couple years, reading their ads, and yeah, it's quality. Gonna last you a long time, and it looks great. So
yeah, I think we put our orders in around the same time. I got one hoodie in the mail. I got part of my order. Just a note for the folks at home. I think that the sizing's accurate. However, the hoodies size up, because your boy ordered a XXX and it's still a little snug. It's like,
Dang, Mike.
Like it's like it's like a little snug, and I'm like, I'm not that heavy. So yeah, if you're gonna order, if you like a hoodie, definitely order a size up.
Okay.
The shirts are true to size.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't got a hoodie from them, but yeah, the shirts are definitely true to size. Maybe just on me fit a tad long, but I can tuck my shirt in. Again, the stuff's incredible. We love HomeField. HomeFieldApparel.com, folks.
Mike, can I bring up something real quick as we want to talk about the team moving forward, but the whole rankings playoff bracket. You know that I've never filled out an NCAA bracket in my entire life. It doesn't interest me. I've never done it.
Do you like college basketball?
What's that?
Do you like college basketball?
Not really. I don't.
Okay. Right.
But you do it just for fun or whatever. I've never done it because I'm like, I don't pay attention to it. What's the point? But I'm reading a tweet here, and this is a Notre Dame fan on Twitter about Bama losing. We lose to NIL, the precipitous fall. Notre Dame loses to an unranked nobody, NIU, by 2 points. They drop 13 from 5 to 18. Bama loses to an unranked nobody team by 5 points, Vanderbilt. They drop 6 spots from 1 to 7. SEC bias is clearly not a thing, and to think about it is purely conspiratorial.
Wait, was he being sarcastic?
Well, he's saying that Bama lost to Vanderbilt, so they should fall outside of the top 10. But it's like, but again, you forgot that they beat the brakes off of Georgia, the number 2 team or whatever in the country, 3 team in the country the week prior. So like all of that discourse, it's never really interested me, even as a talking head on YouTube, So I'd rather worry about the team in the upcoming game and how you can continue to polish this diamond that is Notre Dame football this year.
80% of that top 10 is SEC/Big Ten. Like that's just, and then the other 2 teams from the ACC, and who knows how long Miami and Clemson will stay in the ACC. But it's fun seeing the upsets, but the cream will rise to the top, and yeah, I don't think Iowa State will be a playoff contender, but we'll see. We will see, Mike. So Notre Dame has, again, if a lot of these teams held serve and didn't get upset, it was going to be like, if Notre Dame wins out, they're probably in the playoff, right? And now it feels like after this past weekend, it's, I've seen so many memes of like, Notre Dame fans being like welcoming in, the likes of Tennessee and Alabama fans to like this club of losing games you shouldn't have lost this season. But yeah, my point being, it does feel like Notre Dame is, if they win out now, it's like, oh yeah. Now instead of being like, ooh, will we even make it in? It's like, oh yeah, we could even host a playoff game in South Bend in December. So Stanford this week, Mike, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it feels like before you were hoping, you're literally praying, okay, the ball breaks the right way, we get in. Now you're in the driver's seat. Yeah. Is how it feels.
Yeah, and even still, they probably would have made it in as a 12 or 11 as a 1 loss. Well, probably 11 because their group of 5 teams probably usually going to be the 12. But now it's like, yeah, again, you're definitely in the driver's seat. But you got to take care of business, Mike. We can't, get too ahead of ourselves, as you like to remind us. So Stanford, not great. But that's the team that's ahead of the Irish right now, and it is the team that's beaten Notre Dame in the past, even though they weren't very good. So what's kind of your thought heading into this matchup, and maybe what you hope that the teams worked on during the bye week?
That's what I want to talk about, the latter part of that question. And I like Stanford. I like their coach. I actually bet them to win this past weekend. Stupid bet in hindsight, but I'm like, there's something there. I bet the Arkansas money line 2 weekends in a row. It finally hit. But the rest of that schedule, save for Florida State, all those teams are 4-1. I mean, they're way plus 500 in terms of their record. But where do we want to see the team improve? Or where do we just want to feel like secure laying our heads down at night, Mike? and like the offensive line is probably number one on that list. And
is there anything they can like specifically improve on, or is it like a personnel thing? Like what does that even mean?
And when you watch the all 22, it's like we don't pick up, and I'm just speaking in layman's terms, like we don't pick up stunts and crossers as quickly as we should. Like, and thus far, and it's like we've been doing shows, Mike. Is it the quarterback? Is it the receiver? Is it the offensive coordinator? Is it the wide? Is it, where do you place blame? And it's this far into the season, you could say like, yeah, the offensive line isn't a strength. And that makes Riley look worse. It makes Denbrock look worse because it just really kind of puts you in a bind. So I think it's fun to talk about moving personnel around. But then you sit there and go, okay, if there's some missed assignments and they're not keeping up with the tempo of like the defense, when you really think about it, it's like you're not going to inject a new starter into the lineup if the current starters and a lot of these guys with experience can't pick up some of these stunts. So it's just drilling it basically.
Okay.
Yeah, because you see Denbrock trying to work around it with quick game, and Riley's still getting people and sitting in his lap. And then you'll sit there and go, and this is why the all 22 is fun. It's like the very next snap, Riley's asked to stand in the pocket again and deliver because now we're in 3rd and long. So he just got lit up 0.2 seconds into his drop in quick game. And it's like the very next snap, he has to pretend like that didn't just happen to him. And he's got to stand tall and proud and deliver a deep pass, right? So the nuance of this year's team, but the biggest room for improvement, the biggest like glaring concern for me is offensive line, for sure.
Like, can you think back to your playing days, bye weeks, what that looked like? Like, how much improvement can you actually do? Is it, more about, getting some rests? Coaches are out on the road recruiting a little bit this past week. And any other thoughts on that, Mike?
That's a good question. I think with this year's team, there's an opportunity to recuperate and get a couple kids, healthy-ish, get them back. Like Shrouth, Burnham's probably like overvalued. I mean, this is his first year playing strong side defensive end. It wasn't like, losing a Boubacar Traore is a much bigger deal than getting Josh Burnham back is, Mike, if that makes sense. But in terms of the depth, it matters. But yeah, Shrouth. But you hear a lot about that O-line culture at Notre Dame that they roll deep, Singer. Like they go everywhere together. And I think that might just be a time for them to kind of put their heads together as a unit and just be like, hey, man, we got to fix some of these things. Again, I just wonder culturally, like leadership-wise in that locker room, it's like after this weekend, it's like, God dang, guys, the plate's at the table here. Let's get our what together. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing, I can't, because both Navy and Army being undefeated, it's like, oh, that's like the boogeyman kind of laying in the schedule down the road here. And like if we go into that game and we're rotating like two true defensive ends, whether it be a Bryce Young or Logan Thomas, like playing triple option, we're in for a long day. Just saying. So it's like getting Burnham back, getting Tuialamaka caught up. That's a huge weak spot for a defense if that were the case.
I did want to ask you about that. That was on the topics, both Navy and Army being undefeated, which is pretty cool. Neither ranked in the top 25 yet. By the way, going back to the whole SEC bias thing, where's Vanderbilt? Where the hell's Vanderbilt in the top 25?
Well,
what's their? Oh, they already got 2 losses. Okay, yeah. That's fair. Yeah,
I think they were 2-2 going into that game.
Jeez, yeah, that's right.
Because they beat Virginia Tech like week 1 was a big win for them.
Mm-hmm.
But no, Clark Lee is a great coach.
So does Michigan. Yeah, Michigan's got 2 losses already. USC and Washington.
Yeah, again, you can never you can never be right.
Never.
When it comes to this conversation. So I'd just rather not have it. Because if you say, well, this, and then somebody goes, well, yeah, what about this? And it's like round and round and round.
You don't like talking in circles and arguing and like that, Mike?
On the internet? No. It's like, yeah, no, I don't. And again, it goes back to like Twitter. You try to be active on Twitter, and it's like, I can't spend a whole day arguing with a stranger. I just, as much as you want to, I can't. I can't do it.
But how cool is it though for Army and Navy both being undefeated? And yeah, the difficulties playing against those teams, Mike.
Oh, I mean, the game's changed a little bit in terms of like what they can do as far as cut blocking and all of that. But Army can throw the ball, and that was my pick of the week last week was Army to win. I think they had a Thursday, Friday night game, if I remember correctly. But Army can throw the ball a little bit this year. But yes, playing triple option, it sucks. It sucks, and it's like throw your instincts out. It's like you almost have to play defense with blindfold on, because it's like I have to run in there. Whether the guy has the ball or not. Because they're going to, especially Navy, it's all built around that fullback singer. And like that crease could be this big and you're fast flowing over the top. You're like, he ain't getting it. I'm going to try to get out to the quarterback pitch. And it's like, sure as hell, boom, they give it to that fullback and he gets 3.5 yards. It's like, God, you got to run in there whether you have to run in there whether the guy has the ball or not. So it's very counterintuitive than how you would typically approach a game as a defensive player. And it's like they're clinical in terms of how they rep that stuff. Yeah.
I kind of want to go back to big picture Notre Dame talk and looking at.
Are you trolling me right now?
No. But I'm thinking I want to, but you don't like that. So I got to frame the question.
That's fair.
How, are you still how deep of a run do you think this team has potentially in them? Or do you think they could still slip up again this season and then miss it? They make it. Do you think they could be a dangerous team based on what you've seen from other teams and what you've seen of Notre Dame? Defense travels, defenses, Notre Dame's defense is going to be there. They're going to be able to make some plays. I'm just curious kind of your general outlook on Notre Dame the rest of the season. Is this going to be one of those things where it's like, all right, Notre Dame, they got to that big game, the BCS, the college football playoff with the 4 teams, this new expanded college football playoff, and then you just get the doors beaten off you. Do you what's kind of your outlook here, Mike?
Let's talk. Let's go down this path together. I always work backwards to forwards, or I tend to. I think the days of us getting the doors blown off of us, and we're so scarred from that Bama national championship game, by and large, I think those days are over because of the type of athlete that we have. Not across the board per se.
Corner safety, dude.
Yeah, corner safety. I mean, we're still small in the defensive line. Our wide receivers still leave, a lot to be desired. But hey, generally speaking, our roster getting off the bus looks pretty damn good. There's still some holes to fill. But how can I see us losing another game? Abso-friggin-lutely, Singer. And I hope that the team approaches it the same way. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Just because by a stroke of luck and all these top-ranked teams fell off this weekend, it's like we had nothing to do with it. So control what you can control. So you should absolutely go into every game thinking that they can knock you off. I mean, that's how you lose to a Northern Illinois. That's how you lose to a Louisville. And a lot of that's on Coach Freeman. So it's like coming into that week of practice, don't switch anything up. Absolutely, we can get beat. Absolutely. I think a lot of it's tied to Riley Leonard's health, because I don't think this style of play offensively for him is necessarily sustainable, Singer. He's not Cam Newton out there. He's not a big kid. He's probably 210 pounds at this point in the season, 6'4". He's not built to take that beating. But on the other hand, he's tough as hell. He's tough as hell. If you do make the playoff, I want to win one game.
Just one.
That's where I'm at, dude.
And then monkey off your back.
it puts you into like, okay, coming out of next season, hopefully you're in that top 5, 6, 7, 8 conversation. But I would, and this is going to sound awful to some people, but I would rather like, it's like I'd almost rather, depending on your seeding, depending on your draw, your opponent, it's like I'd almost rather not make the playoff and just go win at the Tostitos Bowl or the Pop-Tart Bowl, as Tim calls it, versus making the playoff and getting the brakes beat off of you. I would rather just not even get in there.
Sorry, so Rip Jules here says, 1, not good enough. Listen, dude. Have you watched? Like, did you see Notre Dame lose to NIU? Struggle against Miami of Ohio? Like, yes. I think it would be a huge success if Notre Dame wins a college football playoff game. Now, if they somehow get to the number 5 seed and then you beat Navy or Boise State, I mean, Boise's actually legit.
Well, but listen, whoever dropped that little note, I'm with you, but you got to win 1 to win 2, dummy. Let's focus on 1.
Well, yeah, but Notre Dame hasn't won like this big postseason game in a long time. Was I born?
But it's interesting. So, like, if you look at the makeup of Freeman's teams, it's like they do get up for these games. They'll get up for it.
I like that.
So it's like, okay, give us an Oregon or give us a whomever. We can get up for that game. And defense travels, Singer. But I also want, and this is the life as a Notre Dame fan, Mike. It's like, folks, broken record over here. Preseason, the biggest area of concern was offensive line. Now you're playing 3 backups. Yeah. And we're just going to ignore it because we're Notre Dame. And, it's a thing, man. It's a thing. If the offensive line doesn't play well, you can't build an offense that's going to like be showy and make us feel good about the team. It starts there.
This comment here from Adam. Listen, Adam says, let's focus on Stanford. I don't got to focus on crap. I don't. You know what I do for a living, bro? This is what I'm meant to do. You focus on Stanford. Why are you watching this show? Go, Adam. Go cut up some tape, bro. Why are you in here, man? Come on.
I think he's just saying in general the team's got to focus on Stanford.
Yeah, no shit. But we're not on the team, so we can talk about it.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, we're not on the team. Adam, I just mess with you, brother. Okay. Let me see what was next to talk about, Mike. Just quick shout to Vanderbilt. All the Notre Dame connections on that staff. Was it John? Oh, man, the running back, the former running back for the Irish. The name is escaping me, but Clark Lee, obviously Notre Dame's DC. Is Nick Lazinski still there? I believe
Prince Kali,
yeah, former. So a lot of Notre Dame ties. So shout out to Vanderbilt, man. Shout out to Vanderbilt.
There's another sidebar Notre Dame connection. So the Rezac twins, freshmen, right? Quarterback, preferred walk-on quarterback, won every award possible in the state of Nebraska.
Josh Adams, yeah.
Josh Adams. Oh, yeah. He's the assistant running back coach. So Teddy and Anthony Rezac, current Notre Dame freshmen, their older brother Dominic is on the team at Vanderbilt as well. So, but no, what a great game, and what a great game, and what an offense, and what a quarterback. It's like, man, they had Alabama guessing. It's like that was very impressive. Very impressive.
I think what I'm about to ask you, there's not like a wrong answer. It's kind of just how you look at this. The whole Alabama losing to Vanderbilt or Notre Dame losing to Northern Illinois, like which one is like worse? I mean, Notre Dame lost to a MAC school at home. That's worse than losing to even a low-level SEC team on the road. I get that. Like, factually, the Notre Dame loss is worse. But for me, we're talking about Alabama. They just beat Georgia, and then you lose to Vanderbilt after Nick Saban's comments about every place in the SEC is difficult to play except for Vanderbilt. I mean, Notre Dame just lost to Marshall 2 years ago. It's like we're kind of used to Notre Dame doing this. You know, you've lost to USF. You've lost these games in recent memory. But Bama losing to Vanderbilt is just wild. I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Well, NIU is certainly worse. I've heard that batted around on Twitter trying to compare the two. NIU is worse, ironically, in a weird way, Stinger, because it's happened before. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it makes it that much. It's like the knife kind of turns a little bit more. It's like, God, I saw this coming. And yeah, at home makes it worse.
Yeah.
But it felt like, and I watched the second half of that game, but it felt like Vanderbilt had Alabama on the ropes. Like they were dealing.
Can I get your quick thoughts on the Boise State running back? I don't know if you've been staying up late on Saturday nights and watching that kid at all. The Ashton Janty kid.
Yes. I got a corner that plays for Utah State, so yeah, I'm staying up late. And he dropped a pick. Avante, if you're watching, he dropped a pick last night against Boise State. Yeah. So he transferred from Oregon to Utah State. Overthrown ball in the end zone, dude, goes over the tight end's hands, and Avante is layered behind him. It would have been a 102-yard crib call, and he dropped it. And I'm texting him before the game, and I'm sitting there going, he balled against USC, no catches against USC. I'm like, dude, NFL teams are going to be watching this game. But no, he's ridiculous. The running back we're talking about, Boise State. And we talk about these ACC officials, Mike, giving Miami that game. So this far into the season, it was the Boise State running back, Cam Ward, and who was the other Heisman guy? It just totally escaped my brain. But it was kind of a 3-horse race. And it's like, okay, who was the other? Somebody say in the comments, who was the other? There was like 3 people that were up for the Heisman.
Sorry, I can't. I get distracted when you put that thing on.
Anybody? Who am I thinking of?
Shedeur Sanders?
No.
Travis Hunter, Milroe.
But Travis Hunter's one of them. Milroe. Thank you. That's who I meant. Milroe. Yeah, they're not going to let Travis Hunter win it. But so Milroe loses to Vanderbilt. He's knocked out of contention. And it's like, well, shoot, if Cam Ward loses, just give it to the Boise State kid. But yeah, he's phenomenal. He's phenomenal.
All right, one more topic, then we're going to go to Super Chats, Mike.
All right. Yeah.
I'll give you the floor on Deuce Knight. Around this time last year, he was hopping off our live show before the Ohio State game. You were hopping on. You talked to him. And just back then, I don't know. I mean, you get it. It's a Mississippi kid. That there's a chance he stays home. I get it, but just interacting with this kid as much as I did not think he was going to flip. But here we are, Mike. So he flips to Auburn. A little bit of a wild one. What's your take on Deuce Knight?
I have to recalibrate how I feel about that fast forward button we're talking about, trying to get 2-3 years down the road at Notre Dame football, in Notre Dame football land. Because he's like first pick overall potential, just in terms of the gifts that God's bestowed him with, physical tools. And I think John Kennedy actually said it on his podcast. He was like, why go be the second coming of Cam Newton when you can be the first Deuce Knight? You know, so like, and I was thinking about that because I'm like, if Deuce goes to Auburn, it doesn't work out. Does he graduate? Like, you know, he's just another talented kid, like an SEC football that it didn't work out. But it's like, if Deuce Knight came to Notre Dame, and whatever, you know, he doesn't win a national championship, he isn't a first-round draft pick, like it's still going to work out for him as a person over the course of his life. Because there's always going to be cachet with Deuce Knight within the Notre Dame brand. Are you with me on that, Singer? So that part to me is tragic in a way. And then even when Auburn, these teams, they cook up these graphics, right? Because everything's pre-planned. The team will send them a graphic, and like that graphic of him committing, it was Cam Newton front and centered, and it was like he was framed. Did you see that one? He was like framed. Deuce Knight was framed around Cam Newton. So there's a lot going on there. But like until we get a Cam Newton, or until we get an NFL first rounder type person, player, athlete at quarterback, it's probably going to be more of the same. There has to be somebody to kind of break that trend. You know what I mean? But it was he wasn't a Notre Dame fit on paper, and that's part of the reason I was so excited to get him, because neither was like a Tony Rice if you're being honest about it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, sucks.
It sucks. So, and then now the last thought is, where is that 2025 class via On3 who cuts our checks? What's that Notre Dame class ranked currently, losing Deuce Knight?
All right, let me pull it up.
Because losing Daniel Anderson didn't hurt us.
Where's team ranking? So this is the industry. This is all 4 sites kind of together. Notre Dame's at 13. If you remove the industry part and it's just On3, they're 11. So 11 per On3, 13 per the industry.
Now you're the insider. Do you see that changing? What's the first signing day?
December 4th, I think. Now It's moved up again. It's a couple weeks closer.
So there could be some.
Yeah, and they have 21 commits. They could take like 6 more guys, Mike. So there's definitely movement to be had, rankings movement. I think they'll end up between 9 and 13.
Okay.
Or
so yeah, just touch 14. On the Daniel Anderson, the running back. It sucks the way that went down, but I never really saw him playing for us. I was surprised we offered him a scholarship. Ontavious Richardson, I like him.
Thought you might.
I like him. Who knows what he's going to turn into? I was going to try to watch the film on Patreon, but I'm like, yeah, he's playing receiver, but he's going to play receiver. He's slotted to play receiver. He's playing quarterback in high school. It's like, he's just an athlete at this point, and he can run. He's long and he can run. We'll do something with him. But yeah, Deuce Knight, the saga is finally over. Moving on. You got some super chats, Singer?
Yep. I haven't mentioned this, folks. Please do hit the thumbs up on this video. Really helps support what we're doing here at Blue and Gold. And of course, subscribe to our Blue and Gold YouTube channel if you are new here. 2025 quarterback scenario for Mr. Goolsby. Give me like 20 seconds on this, Mike.
I don't want to talk about it.
There you go.
CJ Carr is going to be the fan favorite. It already seems to be etched in stone. There's the Angeli's army, there's a pro Angeli crowd, and there's people that are climbing on to CJ Carr. Totally understand both camps. Kenny Minchie's left in the middle. Hashtag why not Kenny? I believe, and you don't have to believe that, or you, Singer. It's just my opinion. I think Kenny Minchie's the most physically talented of the 3.
I would agree. John Massey, Goolsby, are the Larry Allen train noises true?
Yes. There's people in life, and I'll bring this back to Notre Dame. So, folks watching, you've been to South Bend, CJ's Pub. Great little bar, pub burgers, Singer. If you ever go there, right? Crazy. So, Ricky Joe, former owner, proprietor, rest in peace. He was great to us football players. This is before NIL. Maybe we got a free burger or a free drink every now and then, Singer. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. But that's like the landscape back then. But Ricky Joe used to tell me, and I'll bring this back to bounce back and forth. Michael Stonebreaker, who was like, somewhat of an idol of mine, Singer. So it's like Bob Crable wore number 43, stud linebacker, had like 10,000 tackles at Notre Dame. Michael Stonebreaker, 42. Goolsby wore 41. And I would talk to Ricky Joe about all these Stonebreaker stories because he was a wild man back in the day. in Holtz's time. There you go. See, Beef Eater. Oh, naturally, Beef Eater would stop at CJ's for a pub burger. But Ricky Joe told me about Stonebreaker. He goes, if you heard a story about Stoney, if you heard a story about Stoney, he goes, it's probably true. So like anything that you hear about Larry Allen in terms of like his legendary strength or dude, the guy would warm up with 315 on the bar. He'd walk into the weight room and put 315 and just warm up, and always had a dip in his mouth. Like Mike, he would go into like one-on-one, and this is like later in his career, one-on-one pass rush. He'd have his can of Copenhagen or whatever it was in his sock. So he has a dip in at practice, and he would just get into this lazy 3-point stance, and he would just stand up and just get a hold of these NFL defensive linemen. He would just ragdoll them. You know the name Roy Williams, Mike, the safety from Oklahoma. Remember him? Played for the Cowboys, number 31, was like an all-pro. Big hitter.
Oh, yeah.
Larry Allen bent a face mask, as legend goes. Larry Allen was pulling on a play to kick out Roy Williams, and Roy Williams ran away from him on the practice field.
I love it.
Anyway, yeah, so most of those Larry Allen stories you hear. Last one, that was a 3-4 defense. So your guards are uncovered. So, you'd have to hat and hands these guys. And they were doing a drill where we were like 3.5, 4 yards apart, kind of staggered. And they would climb to us as linebackers. And I was kind of doing the math in my head, Singer, of like, okay, I'm in the hole, as it were. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, LA, like I'm going to have to hit LA. And I was like, I'll just move to the back of the line. Because he'd hit linebackers, and they would do like backward somersaults. This is inconceivably strong.
Adam with a $10 super chat. He says, Mike, is it really crazy to say play Lamberts and move Wagner to left tackle?
Yeah, I could pull up the tweet. Emil Wagner's probably played our best ball. I don't believe Anthony Knapp's going to start next year, which I don't think is incredibly controversial because Singer, you yourself said he's a guard. And this might be a fun thing that coming out of a bye week, and you get a chance to break Gerby Lambert in as a right tackle against the Stanford. It's worth a try. If
Lambert is ready, then yeah, it definitely is. But it would be a bold move.
I'd find the tweet. But the dream scenario at offensive line, and this might be your offensive line in 2025, is Emil Wagner left tackle, Jagasaw left guard, Ashton Craig center, Shrouth right guard, Gerby Lambert right tackle. NFL across the board. Why not let's just do it a year early?
And another one from Adam. He says, what's more likely, 11-1 or 9-3?
I mean, I don't want to answer that. Respectfully, I don't want to answer that.
All right, so Goolsby thinks 9-3. I would personally say 11-1 is more likely, but the most likely is probably 10-2. But it's not like USC some world beater. But it's like FSU stock crazy down, fade FSU, but then Army Navy up. Georgia Tech's better than we thought. Going into the season. So 10-2.
1 week at a time. That's all I could tell you. Even Florida State's down, but they're talented. It's like, couldn't you just see Florida State coming into Notre Dame Stadium at night and like having a game? Couldn't you just see it happening? I mean, that was a game that I was legitimately concerned about.
They will do that. I was watching that game with a buddy, the start of the game at dinner last night, and he was like, couldn't you just see FSU just beating the doors off Clemson? Like it could happen. One of these days, FSU just shows up. Hopefully not in South Bend in a few weeks. Chris Totten says he's going to make his Virgin trip. Just say first. Just say first trip, Chris. Just makes me feel uncomfortable saying that. I don't know. Gonna make my first trip to Notre Dame for the Stanford game. Happy 50th. Happy 50th to you, Chris. Any tips? Are you guys going to be there? I am going to have my firstborn any day now. So, no, I'm not going to be there. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to watch the game. We will see. This might be one of my last YouTube shows, and in a couple weeks for a couple weeks. So we will see. We'll see. Any tips?
That's crazy. First time, probably a lifelong Notre Dame fan. First of all, happy birthday and good for you, Chris. For real, good for you. Any tips? Wear comfortable shoes and
walk.
If I'm you, to hell with tailgating, go see the campus.
Yes.
To hell with standing in a parking lot as much as you love it and everything else. Put a little backpack on, and they make everything. I bought one off Amazon, like a little backpack. You could put 5-10 beers in there, walk around and take in the campus. Absolutely. And do something, Chris, that you're going to remember. So whether it's you have a little moment at the grotto, or if you go to the lake, like do something for you. I really, really, really recommend that. Dude, I could talk about that basilica and get a little knot in my throat, but I might go spend some time in the basilica just with your thoughts, because that's something at 50 you'll remember that.
Yeah. Go see Touch on Jesus. Like go tour, go get pictures, go take pictures, with whoever you're there with, Chris. Like go do that stuff. Yeah. Tailgating, standing in the parking lot, talking to some people or not. Like, yeah, who cares about that? Yeah. Go get around, hit the breweries. I don't know what time you're getting in or what day, but yeah, hit the breweries.
Yeah. If you can, this kind of some of the stuff Singer and I are talking about, whether it's Grotto, Basilica, what have you, maybe try to knock that out like Friday when there's less foot traffic on campus. It'll make it a little bit more special.
Yes.
Because okay, the Grotto isn't quite as special if there's 400 people standing around, whereas it might be, it'll be a different landscape Friday night.
Yeah, I agree. And then, like even on Saturday, like game day, maybe that's not your campus tour day. But I would still like walk around the stadium, just get the sights and sounds, just get some good walking in. Beefeater says hang out with Augie at Augie's Locker Room, one of our sponsors, Jerry McKenna. Yeah. So
Beefeater's a pro. Yeah, you guys link up with Beefeater, he'll sort you out.
Yeah, go to the bookstore. Yeah, tons to do. Goolsby, good show, brother. Glad we did it.
We made it.
Any closing thoughts?
1 week at a time. That we are in no position as a program to be thinking about
I can talk 2 weeks, 3 weeks in advance. I will.
Oh, I think it's ridiculous though. Like, oh, if we don't win it's like, dude, we got to win the next game. We are in no place as a program. We were just gifted something this past weekend, and just take care of that little baby, Singer.
But
take care of that.
I'm not on the team. It doesn't matter.
But
I can look ahead.
As a fan base, it's like, okay, I mean, that's the approach you should have. I can't see it any other way. What are we worried about? The playoff, getting 2 playoff wins. Let's just get there.
It's okay to talk about. But yeah, Stanford, you don't want Notre Dame to overlook Stanford. That is for sure. I'm with you on that. But it's okay to talk.
Yeah, don't overlook anybody. Just continue to get better. And it starts with, defense is playing lights out, could always stop the run, but some of that schematic. For the offense to get better, it starts with that offensive line. So for Riley to get better, for the receivers to get better, for Denbrock to be more creative, it all starts there. So that's where, like when you watch that Stanford game, train your eyes on the line.
Just scrolling to see if Chris added anything else as we were talking. I don't say anything. Well, Chris, hope you have a good trip, man. You'll have to let us know how it goes afterwards. All right. Well, that's going to end the show there, folks. Please hit the thumbs up on the video if you have not done so yet. Of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're listening via podcast, thank you very much. We would just ask that you would leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast if you have not done that yet. I'm Mike Singer. He's Mike Goolsby, and we will catch you guys next time.